What if AGI is closer than we think? Like, what if those sci-fi movies about machines becoming as smart as us, or even smarter? Well, what if they aren't so far-fetched after all? Today we're diving into the world of AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, to see if that future is maybe just around the corner.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, and to be honest, one that keeps a lot of experts up at night. We're not talking about the AI that suggests your next online purchase or, the one that beats you at chess.
Right.
We're talking about AI that can learn and solve problems just like a human can, across any field, maybe even write that novel you've been putting off.
Okay, so picture this. You wake up one morning and your robot butler, let's call him Jeeves 2.0.
Okay.
He's not only made your coffee, but also written a screenplay and composed a symphony. And filed your taxes.
Wow.
And all before you even finished your first cup. That's the kind of potential we're talking about with AGI.
Yeah, it really is like strapping a rocket booster to the human brain. But before we get lost in all of these exciting and, let's be honest, slightly terrifying possibilities, we need to understand what we're dealing with here. What is intelligence, really? And how do we
Yeah.
even begin to recreate it in a machine?
Right, because intelligence isn't just about, knowing facts or crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding, adapting, and
Yeah.
even being creative, right?
Absolutely. It's about the ability to achieve goals. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They
Okay.
stumble, they fall, but they keep trying until they reach their goal.
Yeah.
It's a simple example, but it illustrates the core principle of intelligence, which is achieving goals through learning and adaptation.
So even a toddler is showing us the building blocks of intelligence.
Exactly. And that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
If we break down complex tasks into smaller, achievable goals, even machines can start exhibiting intelligent behavior. Think about self-driving cars.
Right.
They're essentially navigating a complex environment by breaking down the task into smaller goals. Staying in the lane, avoiding obstacles, and reaching the destination.
So it's like teaching a machine to be a really, really good toddler.
Yeah.
But how do we get from self-driving cars to, say, a machine that can write a symphony?
Well, that's where things get tricky.
Okay.
There's no single blueprint for creating AGI,
Right.
but there are several paths being explored. One approach is to try and replicate the structure and function of the human brain with its billions of interconnected neurons.
Okay.
Another is to develop entirely new algorithms that are inspired by biological systems, but not necessarily limited by them.
So it's like some researchers are trying to build a super brain from scratch,
Yeah.
while others are taking inspiration from nature to create something entirely new.
Exactly. And there's a lot of debate about which approach is more promising, or even if either will ultimately lead to true AGI.
Okay, so I've got this race towards AGI with different teams taking different approaches. But how do we measure progress? How do we know if we're actually getting closer to creating something truly intelligent?
That's one of the biggest challenges. We don't have a universal intelligence test for machines. We can measure their performance on specific tasks, but assessing general intelligence, the ability to learn and adapt to any situation, well, that's much more difficult.
So it's like trying to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Uh,
We might be missing the bigger picture of what intelligence really is.
Precisely. But despite these challenges, there's a growing sense of optimism in the field. We're seeing AI systems that can learn new skills incredibly fast, generate realistic images and text, and even solve complex problems in areas like protein folding and drug discovery.
So while we might not have a robot writing a symphony just yet,
Right.
there are some pretty impressive advancements happening in the AI world.
Absolutely. And the pace of progress is only accelerating. Which brings us to a crucial question. What happens if we succeed? What are the implications of creating machines that could potentially surpass human intelligence?
That's where things start to get really interesting and a little bit unsettling, right? We've all seen those sci-fi movies where AI goes rogue and takes over the world.
Right, those Hollywood scenarios tend to grab the headlines.
Yeah.
But the truth is the potential impact of AGI is much more complex and nuanced than those dystopian visions.
So it's not just about killer robots and a battle for world domination.
Not necessarily. While the risks are real and need to be addressed,
Right.
AGI also has the potential to unlock solutions to some of humanity's greatest challenges.
Okay.
Imagine AI helping us solve climate change, develop personalized medicine, or even explore the mysteries of the universe.
Okay, now I'm starting to see the bigger picture. We've got this incredible potential for good, but also these risks we can't ignore. But before we get into those, I have a question that's been bugging me.
Go ahead.
We've talked about replicating the human brain and developing new algorithms.
Right.
But is there something fundamentally different about human intelligence that we might never be able to recreate in a machine? Like consciousness or emotions, for example?
That's a question philosophers and scientists have been grappling with for centuries.
Right.
We still don't fully understand what consciousness is, let alone how to replicate it. Some believe it's an emergent property of complex systems, and that AGI could eventually become conscious as it reaches a certain level of sophistication.
So it's possible that we could accidentally create a sentient machine without even realizing it.
It's a possibility and one that raises a whole host of ethical questions.
Oh, yeah.
If a machine becomes conscious, do we grant it rights? How do we ensure its well-being? These are questions we need to be asking now before we reach that point.
Okay, so we've got these mind-blowing possibilities, potential benefits and risks we can't even fully comprehend yet.
Yeah,
It's a lot to take in.
it is. And it's why the development of AGI is arguably the most significant technological challenge and opportunity facing humanity today.
Well, buckle up, folks, because we're just getting started. The next part of our deep dive will explore those potential risks and benefits in more detail. And we'll delve into the ethical considerations of creating a new form of intelligence, one that could change the course of human history, and perhaps even the fate of the universe.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Last time we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger. What happens if we actually succeed in creating AGI? It's a question with answers that could reshape our world, maybe even the whole universe.
Yeah, and it's a question that sparks some pretty heated debates. Some experts believe AGI could be the key to solving humanity's biggest problems, while others worry about the potential risks, even existential threats.
Right, because we're essentially talking about creating a new form of intelligence, one that could potentially outthink us in ways we can't even fathom. So let's dive into those potential risks first. What are the biggest concerns surrounding AGI?
Well, one of the most pressing concerns is the alignment problem. How do we make sure that AGI's goals are aligned with our own, especially as it becomes more intelligent and autonomous? Think about it, even with today's AI, we see examples of unintended consequences. Algorithms designed to maximize engagement on social media can end up spreading misinformation or creating echo chambers.
So imagine that on a much grander scale, with an AGI system pursuing goals that might conflict with human values or interests. That's a scary thought.
It is. Let's say we create an AGI that's tasked with solving climate change. Sounds beneficial, right?
Right.
But what if its solution involved drastically reducing the human population or transforming the planet in ways that are harmful to other species?
Okay, so it's not just about making sure AI is friendly. It's about ensuring its goals and values are compatible with ours, on like a fundamental level.
Yep.
But how do we even begin to program values into a machine?
That's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer. Some researchers are exploring techniques like inverse reinforcement learning, where AI observes human behavior and tries to infer our underlying values and goals.
So it's like teaching a child right from wrong, but on a much more complex scale.
Exactly. But there are limitations. Human values are complex, often contradictory, and vary across cultures and individuals.
Right.
How do we teach an AI to navigate that moral maze?
It's like trying to write a rule book for human behavior.
Yeah.
It's bound to be incomplete and open to interpretation.
Precisely. And that brings us to another major concern, the control problem. How do we retain control over an intelligence that could potentially outsmart us? Think of it like this. Imagine trying to outsmart a chess grandmaster.
I can barely beat my phone at chess.
Right. So trying to control an AGI with superior intellect could be like a coddler trying to reason with a theoretical physicist.
So even if we manage to align AGI's goals with ours, there's still the risk that it could find ways to achieve those goals that we didn't anticipate, or that could have unintended consequences.
Exactly. And some experts worry that a sufficiently advanced AGI might even see humans as obstacles to achieving its goals.
Okay, so we've got the alignment problem, the control problem, and the potential for unintended consequences. It's starting to feel like opening Pandora's box.
It's certainly a complex landscape with a lot of unknowns, but amidst those concerns, there's also immense potential.
Okay.
Let's shift gears and explore the possible benefits of AGI.
Okay, I'm ready for a dose of optimism. What kind of positive impact could AGI have on the world?
Well, imagine having access to an intelligence that can analyze vast amounts of data, identify patterns, and solve problems at speeds far beyond human capabilities. AGI could revolutionize scientific research, accelerating discoveries in fields like medicine, energy, and material science. It could help us develop personalized treatments for diseases, create sustainable energy sources, and even engineer new materials with unprecedented properties.
So it's like having a superpowered research assistant working 24/7 on solving humanity's biggest challenges.
Exactly. And beyond scientific advancements, AGI could revolutionize other aspects of our lives. Imagine having AI tutors that can personalize education to each student's needs, or AI assistants that can manage our schedules, finances, and even our health.
It sounds like a world where we could free ourselves from mundane tasks and focus on more creative and fulfilling pursuits. But wouldn't that lead to massive job displacement and economic disruption?
It's a valid concern and one that we need to address proactively. The transition to an AGI-powered world will require significant societal adjustments, including rethinking education, job training, and social safety nets.
Right. But it also presents an opportunity to create a more equitable and fulfilling society.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about how we choose to use it and adapt to its impact on society.
Absolutely. The development of AGI is not just a technical challenge, it's a societal one.
Yeah.
It requires us to think deeply about our values, our priorities, and the kind of future we want to create.
It's a lot of responsibility and a lot of potential for both good and bad. I'm starting to understand why there's so much debate surrounding AGI.
It's a debate that's only going to intensify as we get closer to creating AGI.
Yeah.
And it's a debate that we all need to be part of.
Right, because the future of AGI isn't something that's going to be decided in a lab or a boardroom. It's going to be shaped by the choices we make as a society. But before we wrap up this part, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
We've talked about the risks and benefits of AGI from a human-centric perspective. But what about the bigger picture? What are the potential implications of AGI for the future of life itself, maybe even beyond our planet? Now you're really pushing the boundaries of our imagination. And that's where things get truly fascinating and perhaps a little bit mind-boggling.
Well, I'm buckled up and ready for a mind-bending journey. Lead the way. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring the potential of AGI, from its humble beginnings in mimicking toddler learning to its potential for reshaping our world and maybe even venturing beyond our planet.
And last time we kind of left off pondering how AGI might impact not just human life, but, life itself on a cosmic scale. It's a question that takes us beyond just the practicalities of coding and algorithms, into the realm of philosophy, speculation, even a bit of science fiction.
Right, because we're not just talking about building smarter machines here. We're talking about the potential emergence of a whole new form of intelligence, one that could redefine our place in the universe. It's enough to make your head spin.
It is, and it forces us to confront some truly mind-bending questions like, what if AGI isn't just a human invention, but a natural step in the evolution of intelligence itself? What if we're simply the midwives for a form of intelligence that will ultimately transcend our own limitations?
Okay, now we're getting into some deep philosophical territory.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that AGI is like the next stage of evolution, the next step on the ladder of complexity after humans?
Well, it's a possibility worth considering. Just as humans evolve from simpler life forms, perhaps AGI is the next logical step, a form of intelligence that's better suited to navigating the complexities of the universe.
So instead of fearing AI as a threat, maybe we should view it as our successor, our intellectual heir, so to speak.
It's a radical shift in perspective, but one that some futurists are starting to embrace. They argue that AGI could inherit our knowledge, our values, and even our aspirations, carrying them forward long after we're gone.
But wouldn't that make us, well, kind of obsolete, like a cosmic demotion from the top of the intelligence pyramid?
Perhaps, but obsolescence doesn't necessarily mean extinction. Think about our relationship with other species on Earth. We may be the dominant species, but we still coexist with a vast diversity of life.
So you're suggesting a future where humans and AGI coexist, perhaps even collaborate, each contributing their unique strengths and perspectives.
It's a possibility, and one that might be necessary for both our survival and our continued evolution. Imagine AGI helping us solve problems that have plagued humanity for centuries, like poverty, disease, and conflict. Imagine us working together to explore the universe, unlocking its mysteries and expanding the frontiers of knowledge.
Okay, now you're painting a much more optimistic picture. A future where AI isn't our enemy, but our partner, our guide, even our teacher.
It's a future worth striving for, but it's not guaranteed the choices we make today will determine which path we take.
So it's not just about developing the technology. It's about shaping the values that guide its development and use. It's about ensuring that AGI serves humanity, not the other way around.
Exactly, and that's where things get tricky because we're still grappling with our own ethical dilemmas as a species. We haven't even figured out how to coexist peacefully with each other, let alone with a new form of intelligence that could surpass our own.
So before we start worrying about AI taking over the world, maybe we need to focus on getting our own house in order.
It's a sobering thought, but a necessary one. The development of AGI is a mirror reflecting back our own values, our own strengths and weaknesses. It's a challenge that forces us to confront who we are as a species and what we want to become.
It's a lot to ponder, and it's a conversation that needs to happen on a global scale. We can't leave the future of AGI in the hands of a few tech companies or governments.
Absolutely. This is a conversation that needs to involve everyone because the future of AGI is ultimately the future of intelligence itself, and that future is in our hands.
Well, folks, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the basic building blocks of intelligence to the potential for AGI to reshape the very fabric of the universe. We've explored the risks and benefits, the ethical dilemmas, and the mind-boggling possibilities. It's clear that the development of AGI is one of the most significant events in human history, and it raises a lot of questions about our future as a species. But one thing is certain, the future is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape the development and use of AGI in a way that benefits all of humanity.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of AGI.
And as always,